ship.
Oh no!
Here we go!
Can I persuade you to join us for a drink? It's a tradition.
Here, here.
Jar Jar, homie, my main man, quickly. Before the Separatists attack, get into the escape pod.
Hey! This is escape, then we're the pod.
Welcome back to Star Wars Escape Pod and another episode in our Skeleton Crew After Show. We are chatting all about Season 1, Episode 7 this week with the usual friends in the Escape Pod for this episode. Minus Kirk, sadly, but, don't know where he is. Maybe off colluding with the Separatists once more. We're going to be addressing some things about our Discord server. We're going to be diving into a little fun story about how someone sued George Lucas over the name Ewok and some upcoming Star Wars headlines. Let's get into it.
Another happy landing.
All right, welcome back. We got our co-host Blake.
Hello there.
Hello there. We have returning friends of ours. We got Dan. Hello, Dan.
Ahoy there.
Ahoy. We got Matt joining us again. Hello, Matt.
No.
And we got Kyle joining us. Welcome back, Kyle.
Hello there.
Hello there. All right. Well, the reason why you're not hearing Skeleton Crew music at the moment is because we're going to be diving into that in just a minute.
I was wondering what was going on.
Yeah. I figured I was going to do it, and then I was like, nah, because we're not just launching right into Skeleton Crew right away. It just felt better just saving that for another moment later. But I did want to address.
We got to get into this Ewok thing first, right?
I'm going to save that for the end because it is just a very small thing, but it's a funny story. But yeah, the Discord I wanted to address because that's just, someone might tune out halfway through. So I just wanted to put that front and center. We've just kind of made the decision to all our listeners out there to close the Discord. When it publicly launched, it was definitely another experiment of mine just to see like, hey, how popular would it be? Is this something we can kind of facilitate and grow a community of Star Wars people? Clearly, it's not the place to do that because there's too many options these days, obviously. So we appreciate all the 60 something people that have joined.
This 60 is more than I thought.
Yeah, and this is just audience members / giveaway contestants / friends of people who did join who listened to the podcast. So that's purely that's not podcast crew, that's not guests, that's not anything like that. It's literally just people we've had along for the ride.
Maybe we should have done more giveaways. Maybe we would have got more people in there.
Yeah, maybe.
Reach out to us on Discord if you think we should do more giveaways.
Lol. So just as a heads up to everyone out there, if you are very heavily engaged with the Discord server, you can let us know in the general buzz chat if you want to remain on as a legacy member. I'll give you a special role. You'll be locked into just the Star Wars forums area, and I think the HoloNet news, just because that's a read-only anyways, but very basic things. But the public chats area where all the Star Wars forums will be, that's all still going to be there for you. It's just all the public invite links are going to be disabled. They already are. I haven't been sharing them around. I've removed them from the most recent episode that we did last week, and all the existing links have been killed off. So it's already a process, and then everyone who doesn't have the legacy member role will get booted at the end of Skeleton Crew Aftershow, being in another week and a half from now, I guess it will be. But I put out a full letter. We put out a full letter saying the big thank you to everyone for for joining and hanging out with us. And we got some people who were engaged with us in conversation, and I think a few of those are definitely people who have chosen to stay, which is cool. But we bid adieu to all those who have been ghosting in the background. It's been a pleasure. So
you bid a hoodoo.
Matt just comes out swinging with the insults. Yeah. All right. So that's pretty much the big kind of thing I wanted to start off with here. So we can just cue up the music and dive right into Skeleton Crew. All right. This is season 1, episode 7. All spoilers ahead. This episode is called We're Gonna Be in So Much Trouble, directed by Lee Isaac Chung, written by Christopher Ford and John Watts. This episode premiered on Disney Plus January 7th, 2024. The parents transmit a signal into space and are apprehended by security droids. The pirates and the Onyx Cinder arrive simultaneously at Aten, leading to this Onyx Cinder's capture. The pirate Glurb is dispatched into the barrier, where he is destroyed by its defenses. Recognizing that the Onyx Cinder ship is essential for bypassing the planet's defensive barrier, Jod eliminates Brutus, and then the children incapacitate him using the mecha arm aboard the ship. Jod then reclaims his former captaincy and instructs the pirates to remain concealed until he can be certain of the location of the planet's vaults. The children successfully utilize the pirate code to manipulate SM-33 into betraying Jod, enabling their escape. However, Jod boards the Onyx Cinder, decapitates SM-33, and coerces the children into silence. As the security droid interrogates the parents, the supervisor announces the arrival of a Republic emissary. Jod assumes the guise of the Republic emissary to gain access to Aten's vaults before meeting with the supervisor. The children are briefly reunited with their parents before Jod confronts them with his lightsaber drawn. All right, so there is the summary of this episode. So a lot happened, which is pretty nuts.
Because I know even before we started the podcast, you were talking about how I have, again, a shorter runtime. But this one, compared to the last week, I will say it felt longer than it was. Yeah. Though I still wish it was longer.
Yeah, I still wish it was longer. Yeah, I think maybe we can start off with that as far as the chat goes.
They could put the last 2 episodes together and make a nice one.
That's what they could have done. That's the thing, right, Kyle? Like I mean, yeah. Let's dive into that in just a sec. But maybe we can start with you, Kyle. What was your initial thoughts about this episode when you watched it?
Well, to be honest, first right off the bat, of course, the length time of it was the first thing that I really noticed. As soon as it ended, I was like, man, another one? But I did like the episode. It the pirate side of it, and how Jod, always seems to just escape by the skin of his teeth, but yet now he's on the planet. I think when he keeps trying to ask to communicate and everything, this is going to play a big role in the very last episode, where I said, I think he's going to turn out to be a guy that's going to end up defending the place. And I don't know, because you don't know what happens to somebody when they see that much money, right? You know what I mean? And I can't contact my people. They think I'm dead. Who knows what's going to happen in the last one.
And he's been such a trickster. But I trust him anyway. So
yeah.
Well, that's very true too. I mean, look at how many names he's gone by. Exactly. I did like when he pulls the one piece and it just starts cascading down. It's just, to me, I'd love to be able to throw that kind of money around.
If I was one of those droids, I've been so pissed off. It just made this huge mess, this perfectly organized block.
I thought about
how he looked like he was going to cry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
yeah, no, I like the episode again, but too short. It was too short. They bust the lightsaber out in every episode, right at the end of it, sort of thing. Now, I didn't like how he killed SM-33. So
it's a droid, though.
The fact that SM is gone now, yeah, that's true. But now I know why he's not in the Lego set.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah, that's another freaking spoiler alert by Lego. By Lego. But yeah. But no, I like the episode. It was good. But I hate how they always bust it out for just a couple seconds. You know, like, yeah. Anyway, it was a good episode, just too short.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, Dan, what was your initial thoughts here?
Pretty much the same. I enjoyed it, but yeah, I felt like it definitely felt like half of an episode. Like it would have been much stronger if it was combined with like the previous episode. But it was good. There's a lot of information, a lot of stuff. It was cool seeing, how them getting past the barrier. It was cool seeing the vaults, like just how big the place is.
Yeah.
Like he was like, "How many of these do you have?" And that was really cool. And
yeah, I enjoyed
it.
1,139.
Yeah, like 1,000 of those vaults,
and they're huge.
Yeah, that's nuts, right? Like
treasure planet.
Yeah, I actually wrote down a note about the size of those vaults because as soon as I saw it, first off, I was kind of blown away. I was like, wow, like it looks so good as far as the design goes. For this whole mechanism that kind of goes into the centroid of the planet, if you will, right? Very much like Treasure Planet. But the vault design itself with the giant door was almost exactly like the one on Scipio in the Clone Wars arc that we saw in season 6. It's called The Rise of Clovis. It's an episode with Clovis, Padme, and Anakin Skywalker. And
what's Clovis's first name again?
It's a mission, Rush Clovis.
Rush Clovis.
And it's a mission in which they're trying to infiltrate the banks, the Munes, right? And they go to Scipio, and I think it's Scipio. If not Scipio, then it's some frosty moon somewhere, with lovely Swiss Alp mountains and everything, right? And they get to the vault, and there's this giant door. It's like massive circular thing that kind of like slides open or just it's huge, and it was like almost exactly the same scale as the one in this episode. And I just remember thinking like, whoa, that's so cool. Like it just works, it just makes sense, right? Like the treasure of 1,000 worlds essentially, and there's 1,000 vaults, and all of 1,000 vaults have these big massive honking doors.
I wonder if there's that many because they had to keep making more vaults because they haven't been in contact with the Republic for 1,000 years.
Yeah, I guess
just keep making more room. They'll come back.
So. Yeah,
they'll come.
Yeah. All right. And we do have Matt with us. But spoilers for Matt because it is an episode that Matt has not seen. So Matt, I would ask you about your opinion on this episode, but in general, I guess if you're what are you hoping to hear from us about this episode?
I'm hoping just to hear that it was good.
Yeah.
I just want to like it so much. I just want to.
Really it was good. It's just short.
Because that's always so short. I was looking at the Lego set too. Like you're right. SM33 should be in that Lego set. Come on.
Yeah.
Exactly.
This deal is getting worse all the time.
And it looks like it's just the ship. It's not the ship inside it.
Correct. Yeah.
No, it literally was just the ship. Yeah. It's got the ship, but nothing inside of it, but it does have like a kitchen area and everything like that, and it does have the door that comes down in the front, but you can't really. Nothing really goes in or out of it, but yeah, it mostly from the side is where you do stuff. But it was a fun build, not gonna lie. It was a fun build. I like the fact that the engines move from a horizontal position to a vertical position.
That's pretty cool.
Is neat. Yeah.
It's pretty cool. I mean, it looks cool. It looks like maybe it should be bigger.
It's okay. It's about the length of the Millennium Falcon's a bit longer. Yeah, but it's more beefy though.
I'm waiting for a mock version to come out now with the inner ship inside of it.
Yeah. I loved it. I thought that was awesome. I thought the design was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it. Like
last week's episode was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, yeah. You gave it a high rating last week, Matt. You gave it 3 Pablo points.
I did.
Yeah, it's quite.
Wow, it was enjoyable. It was too short. These are just too short.
They are just too short. Yeah.
Just wait until you hear my overall. I think my overall, though, so far, I don't know.
I heard Blake, what was your 2 cents on this? That after seeing it, just the initial reaction
of the episode.
Yeah.
I will say that something that kind of took me a bit by surprise was that I'm blanking on Jedi's name now. Jun Na, is that his name?
Jod
Na. Thank you. He seemed almost a bit deranged.
Just frustrated beyond measure.
Yeah, but even to the point where it started to feel like you're starting to question if he's more like this or if he's more like how he was with the kids. You don't know which is the real him,
Right.
which is the fake side. Like, was everything we've seen about
He
him
definitely
up till
seemed
now.
kind of unhinged.
Yeah, like he just seemed like he just kind of lost all filter of himself. He was just kind of fed up and frustrated for sure.
Right.
But I'm wondering if maybe that's more his actual character. Maybe not to that same extreme, but what we've seen so far has just been totally phony.
I think that's I think what we're seeing is like the side of him that brought him to that level of pirate lord, you know?
Yeah.
Because I don't think if he didn't have that level of anger and that.
Even compared to like the first half where he's with the pirates, he's still a bit like Han Solo kind of goofy-esque, where like he's always trying to talk his way out, scheming. He almost just seems like almost a bit incompetent.
Yeah, I guess, it's funny.
I kind of like if Han Solo had force powers, because you know that he'd be way more cocky.
Yeah.
That's true.
Right?
It would be, yeah. I think,
And he obviously has force powers, man. So
No strings.
yeah.
I think what's interesting
Yeah,
about
man.
Magnets.
his character to me is he's just been pushed so far, his patience, right? Like his patience has just dried up from having these kids around. And I think in this episode, he actually said something about how annoying Wim was. And I was like,
that's
man,
that's what I mean though. It just feels like he's just tired of faking.
yeah.
Like everything is now unraveling.
That's the thing, right? Like he's sick and tired of putting on the kid mask, right? Like, trying to be kid friendly
the
and
dad,
or just trying to be likable.
The uncle that has to be looking after the kids for the weekend.
Yeah. So mind you, he hasn't cut anyone's hand off, it's like yet. He only decapitated a droid. He hasn't.
Yeah.
And then he shot Brutus, but I think we all wanted to kill Brutus. Like
I liked Brutus as a pirate. But
I actually like Brutus, man.
Yeah, he was a cool pirate.
I thought Brutus was going to, exactly.
He straight cold-blooded murdered him too.
Yeah.
Like he was incapacitated, and he's like, "Nope, you're gone."
Yeah, that was super
But
dark.
well, just imagine if he actually did, like if they didn't kill him, like that guy, they could have done a bunch of comics about that guy. That guy was a character they could have made a lot of money off of if they kept him alive.
I'm sure they still will. It'll just be prior to the show. Yeah. How Brutus got his position as first mate. I'm sure we'll see a comic book series about the mutiny that happened aboard their ship, right? Like,
yeah.
His name, because this Jod Naw would be like Jack Sparrow, right?
Yeah.
And then Brutus would be what's his name? Who stole the pearl from Jack?
Yeah.
What's his name? What? Not.
Gosh darn it.
He's like an evil Gibbs, but not Dave. Not you're talking about Davy Jones or
Not Davy Jones, the other guy from the first.
No.
Barbosa.
Barbosa. That's
Brutus
Brutus is the Barbosa.
he's Barbosa. Yeah, he's Barbosa. Yeah, because Barbosa was Jack's first mate, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was the same thing.
Yeah.
And Barbosa was the serious one, and then Jack's all kind of off the rails a bit.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
With his freaking compass that shows his desire.
Yeah.
And everyone under them in both movies is just really incompetent. It's slow, easily tricked.
We got more.
Davy Jones.
Oh, so go ahead,
Davy
Matt.
Jones can roll right in. Davy Jones could roll right into this world, I think, and just be like an alien with everybody, just chilling.
could.
Yeah, he could be.
Corrin, basically a Corrin.
Dude, they got freaking Davy Jones, but that guy died on his way down going to the planet.
Yeah.
He wanted to, he wanted his
farm,
his plantation of moon. What were they? Freaking moonlights or whatever. I forget the name of it. It's from the Ewoks, man. Oh, never mind. We'll bring that up later. But yeah.
The Wisties.
Yeah, it's like the episode
Whiskey
1
farm?
of Ewoks.
We got more saber action this week with the lightsaber, and
we did.
He didn't really give away that he's used to using one.
No.
But he seemed familiar enough with it that he wasn't uncomfortable.
Dude, his movement was freaking Now he is a sword fighter too. I mean, you remember in episode 2 or something? He pulls that knife out of the body, and he's like, so he's good with a knife. But there's something about the way he moved with that lightsaber when he took off SM-33's head that you're like, okay, maybe he was a youngling at one point or something.
That's kind of always been my theory too. Yeah.
If that ends up being the case,
Yeah.
youngling that became a deranged pirate lord, I think is actually a pretty cool character arc.
Yeah. I mean, like
I prefer that to the goofy, awkward.
He's like if Jim Hawkins went villain. Which, by the way, the very words "treasure planet" was uttered at least twice in this episode. At least twice.
No.
Yeah.
Yes.
Copyright infringement.
I know. Well, in honor of such an event, I actually have something to play here. So we'll just take a listen.
Some kind of map. This is the moment Jim Hawkins had always dreamed of.
Whoa.
Treasure Planet.
Now, he's determined to go for it.
This is my chance to set things right. I don't want to lose you. Make you proud.
Robert Louis Stevenson's greatest adventure, Treasure Island, as it has never been seen before.
All hands to station!
Walt Disney Pictures presents Treasure Planet.
How cool is this?
If you haven't seen this movie, what are you doing with your free time? I mean, think about the next time you're flicking up and up and up.
Josh.
They're just flicking up and up and up away on TikTok and the Insta fetish feeds. I mean, like just watch Treasure Planet. Just watch Treasure Planet. I mean,
I think?
I hear too many people have not seen it.
I think Disney Plus sees that data. I think they see that data that people have been watching it.
I think so. Like, let's relaunch it under the Star Wars banner.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Oh, I've seen this. Okay, I saw this one. Yeah.
That's exactly what I was talking about.
I gotta be honest. I couldn't hear the trailer. All I heard from the trailer was.
All you heard was the best song that the Goo Goo Dolls has ever made. That's what you heard.
Oh man, aren't you sure it's that one from the Nicolas Cage movie?
What Nicolas Cage movie?
Yeah, the one about the angels or something with Meg Ryan. Wasn't it Meg Ryan?
I'm
City of Angels.
I'm very lost.
And I don't want the world to save me.
Yeah. That's Iris. No, that's a different one. No, second best. Their best one is definitely Treasure Planet. All right, so here's something interesting about this. We were talking about runtimes earlier, so just to get back to that, I was chatting about this off air with you guys, but for anyone who is aware in our audience, I'm going to put a link in the description below, but this went out on the Twitter, went out on Blue Sky. I went through all existing 72 episodes. And
that's all Star Wars Disney Plus show content.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, that's all the specifically live action Disney Plus shows. So that's 3 seasons of The Mandalorian, The Book of Boba Fett, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Andor, Ahsoka, The Acolyte, and Skeleton Crew. And I tallied up the actual runtimes, because if you go to Disney Plus and you look at the runtime, it'll say something like 40-something minutes or 30-something minutes. It's high 30s, mid 40s, sometimes even 50-something minutes, right? It's like, okay, what's legit?
Yeah, because that's with the credits in every known language.
That is with their Disney Plus runtime includes the Lucasfilm logo sequence, right? The Star Wars logo sequence, which shines all those flashy metallic faces and helmets.
The previous last episode.
All the credits and all the international languages that go with the credits.
That's the one I was going to bring up.
It's like there's like 5 minutes of credits.
Yeah, it's long.
Yeah, for all the voice actors that do the voiceovers. Yeah, it's
Oh, that's why
it's crazy
for every country too. They do it for every country.
Dude, it's nuts. So anyway, I tallied
like 6 to 10 minutes.
I tallied up everything, and I made a legend and sorted them into 4 different categories. So there's episodes that are above 20 minutes, above 30 minutes, above 40, and above 50. So above 20 is in red, above 30 is in yellow, above 40 is in light green, and then above 50, which are the standout episodes, which I think is the gold standard for, like, if you're doing a premium live action TV show, try and hit above the 50-minute mark, because like that's like House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I put those in neon green, and there is only, out of all 72 existing episodes across all the shows, there is only 3. And can you guess what those shows are? Can you just? I'll let everyone just guess. Like name. They're all from different shows.
I'm guessing. Okay, I'm guessing at least one of them is from Book of Boba Fett.
Okay.
Do you want a solid
One
guess?
of them is Mando.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Mandalorian.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm going with Book. Yeah.
Dan, any guesses?
No, I'm saying Andor will have one.
I saw the sheet, so I know the answers.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. Okay. So Ahsoka episode 1, episode 1 of Ahsoka is 50 minutes and 28 seconds. Book of Boba finale season 1 episode 7 is 53 minutes and 7 seconds.
And Rebels season 1 Spark Rebellion.
No. And Mandalorian season 3 episode 3 is 51 minutes and 47 seconds. So that's the most unlikely of shows I think most people would say. I think a lot of people would have thought like Andor, Kenobi, maybe even The Acolyte, because that show felt like a long time.
Sorry, what was that, Kyle?
I was going to say, remind the people too that like this is the time that you calculated and you took out all the other stuff.
Yeah, this is
when you're saying 53 minutes, that's 53 minutes of actual watching live action show.
Yeah, that excludes the previously on flashback, because every episode tacks on the previously on the previous episode, right? So it skips the flashback.
Yeah.
I'm leaving out the Lucasfilm logo, the Star Wars intro, and the credits. So that's what's left is 50. So there's only 3. All the other ones,
because you know there was going to be a couple of people that'll be like, well, but no, this episode, but no, everybody, it's with all that stuff out.
Yeah, it's crazy. All the other ones are less than less than I think what I would expect. And then I saw somebody on Twitter, I forget the username now, but I'll post a link in this thing so you guys can follow along here. But somebody was saying,
go down the list.
At the very minimum, they want 35 minutes at the very least. Okay, so I tallied up the average of shows with percentages of how many episodes in the season actually hit the 35 bare minimum mark. So far, Andor is 11 out of 12. So they have 91.67% above the minimum, the bare minimum. Okay, so they're pretty safe. Ahsoka coming in second place at 75%. Book of Boba in third with 71.43%. That's 5 out of 7 episodes. We had Mandalorian season 3 and then 2 and 1 tied behind season 3 at 62.5, and then 50% of Mandalorian season 1 to 2 was at 4 and 8. Obi-Wan Kenobi was at 50% with only 6 episodes in that season. 3 of them hit above 35 minutes. The Acolyte had 4 out of 8, so also at 50%. And then Skeleton Crew so far, because we still have one more episode, which I dear hope like that it is above 35 minutes. It's the finale. So far, it is only 25% at 2 out of 8 episodes hitting above 35 minutes. Is that not a ripoff or what? I mean, like, that's crazy, dude. So,
you know what somebody's got to do? Just take all that stuff out and just turn this into like, what, a 3-hour movie?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. That's the thing, right?
Just
like,
cut it all together.
I think, like, I was saying this to somebody recently, but I enjoyed watching Ahsoka more recently. I binged it on my Blu-ray, and I enjoyed it way more when I was just watching it like 4 episodes at a time, because it was like watching a movie and then watching another movie, right? And I don't know. There's something about sitting there for like
just to binge it,
28 minutes. Like, it's different for animation. Like, it's different for animation, not because it's not like superior, but I'm just saying, like, it's a format that kind of works time-wise for animation, just the story that you're able to bash out. No one complains about Clone Wars episodes being 24 minutes long, right?
Well, you're bringing that up is raising a good point that I've been thinking about over here, which is that was at the time where everything was like had a specific time it needed to fit to be aired on live television, right? So you without ads, like you end up with like 22 minutes or whatever it is, or like 44 for an hour-long show. And I know that now that it's streaming, so you have this flexibility, but I think what we're seeing is people are just getting lazy.
Yeah.
And so you can argue that there's less filler, but sometimes some of that padding helps with character development and just like spacing stuff out to let it breathe better.
There's another thing about this being that possibly the budget could play into this. But
these shows have a lot more money than they did.
Dude, this is Disney and it's Star Wars.
See, that's the thing.
They've got the budget.
I've read online, and I think maybe 1 or 2 of you can attest to this as well. But the headlines claimed that The Acolyte was the most expensive Star Wars show that they have produced so far, and it is sitting at second to the bottom of all the seasons. There's 10 existing live action seasons worth of shows, with the only one having 3 being Mandalorian. But if you split that up into 3, it's 9 seasons worth of content, and Skeleton Crew or Acolyte is second to the bottom. It's like, what's going on? Like, where's all the money going? You know,
what that tells me, dude. What that tells me is it's not the money that makes it that's going to be good. It's the story. So you could throw. They could have thrown more money at this story, and you know what I mean. But it's the story that the people want to hear.
Right.
Like The Acolyte, it was a story that the people didn't really want to hear until the very end. And then what did they do? They took it from us.
I mean,
and we're like, you just told a really good prelude to something.
Like how the heck
there's a lot.
Andor did 12 episodes and all of them hit above 35 minutes. We had a few green episodes which are above the 40 mark. That's we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 episodes of Andor hit in the 40 mark. But just in general, that show is, I assume it's not as expensive as The Acolyte because The Acolyte is more recent than Andor and claims were that was the most expensive show. So assuming it's the second most expensive show, it is still the top of the list. They managed to get out an additional 1, 2, 3, 4 episodes in the first season and managed to make them all a decent length. And the story was so much better. Like, I mean, I just don't, it doesn't really add up in my head as to how a show like this comes out.
Between them, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense that Skeleton Crew has been so short.
Is it because Andor was mainly targeting an older audience and Skeleton Crew is more a younger audience?
Maybe, but then they should make it a 6-episode season and then just have each episode be just more interesting. Because I feel like right when you kind of get somewhere with one of the episodes, it feels like incomplete without the one that follows or the one that came before.
Dude, every time.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you're like, yeah. And then, you know, the freaking, yeah.
Yeah. So like, I don't want to complain about it too long. It's just like, I did all this research.
Like,
so
we love the show. We love the show.
Yeah.
But it's just too short, man.
Do you think, does any of them have a higher end special effects?
A higher what?
Between the shows, you mean?
Yeah, a higher end of special effects. Like, since you're talking about budget, like did Acolyte, since Acolyte's the most expensive show, did it have better visual effects? I haven't seen Acolyte.
You know, I feel like
you've saved yourself time, but it's still good to watch just to get it out. You saved yourself time.
It had as many, like, it didn't feel like it was a higher budget show. Like when you watch it,
just watch the last episode.
Like I mean, like, you know, I don't want to say,
You'll get everything from the run up.
I don't want to say like just don't, like I don't want to say waste your time or don't waste your time. You know, like you know, watch it if you want to watch it.
The truth came out in the first one.
There's definitely some good parts through the show, and I think in general, like if you look at our Pablo Points of Pudu's like spreadsheet, like you can get a general overview of like how people felt as we watched it. But yeah, I mean, like, you know, in general, like, no, it doesn't feel like the highest budget. It's not like you watch it and go, like, oh dang, this should have been a movie.
I think the shows across the board, I haven't finished Acolyte yet, so I'm not going to include that in this, but the rest of the shows I thought have been quite consistent in their like digital effects quality.
Yeah. They've all been great for that, right? Like,
yeah, I think so.
In a good way. So, you know, it's one of the most consistent things I think there is.
but let's be real. You could watch the last episode, see the run up to it, and you're good for Acolyte.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's Skeleton Crew. I really don't know what too much else to say about it. I don't know.
Well, the finale's next. You got what's gonna happen?
Yeah, I mean, Dan, you got any other thoughts on this one? You got any other speculation for next week?
They got a lot to wrap up, so you know we still need to see who the supervisor is. I felt like when they're going into the vault, they kind of focused on that one sphere thing that like was off in the distance. I have a feeling that's going to come into play. But yeah, so it's like
entirely.
It's been a really strong.
Wait a second, dude. That's fair. That's fair, dude. When they were coming down on the platform.
Yeah, when they're going down the platform, they like focused on this big round thing in the background. That like arm, the mechanical arms were like doing something to it.
Taking care of. I'm gonna say taking care of it because you're right. I think that's the supervisor.
That's what I was thinking when it first went by. I'm like, oh, that's gonna be the supervisor right there.
Because that voice is too friendly
or something.
Oh,
yeah, that voice is too friendly. It's the guy is too old. Just yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So something I was thinking was that the last episode, hopefully, assuming it's longer, assuming it's a decent length, I think we could be looking at an episode in which we see the backstory of Jod Nawin. You know,
I hope so.
Definitely.
I really hope so.
Maybe flashbacks.
Right.
At least give us 5 minutes of backstory for him. Come on.
There's always a bigger fish.
All right, so Pablo Points of Pudus is our rating system on the podcast. 3 Pablo Pudus is the worst of the worst. Moving up from there, you got 2 Pablo Pudus being kind of bad, 1 Pablo Pudu being bad, a Bendu being 50%, 1 Pablo point being good, 2 Pablo points being better, and 3 Pablo points being the ultimate.
Thing I've ever seen.
The greatest thing you've ever seen. So let's start with you, Dan. What'd you give this one?
This was a solid episode, not the best. A little short, or feeling short, so I give it a 2. 2 Pablo points.
2 Pablo points. All right. Kyle, what'd you get?
Again, it was just, I'm going to give it 2. I did like it, but again, just too short.
Okay, Blake.
Yeah, I think it probably all sounded about the same. I want to give it 2.5 because I really like the character development and everything. Finally getting some reveals of what's going on. I feel like the story is like making some solid progress. We're getting closer to seeing the stuff I've been most interested in. But it is just a bit short, so
yeah,
I pulled it down from a 2.5 to
all right.
2.
So I gave this one a 1.5. I thought it was good. We all thought it was fine, but the runtime, it's a bit of a sore spot for me, you know, especially with this show being the worst example of, you know, the worst offending show for runtimes. Yeah. So anyway, there you have it. Did I miss anybody? I missed Matt. But Matt will.
Matt hasn't seen it, but
Matt, you haven't.
What we've discussed.
Yeah, from what you discussed, how would you rate our discussion?
Oh, that's great. Oh, I like it. 2.5.
2.5. All right.
Nice. We're doing
all right.
And also,
our discussion was good.
And I'm watching it. I'm watching it right now as I listen to you guys discuss it.
Oh wow. Okay.
Oh, there you
go. Okay. Cool.
Got you excited about it.
Yeah. All right. We'll get some more.
Yeah, wait a second. You know, I just thought about something. Okay, for the runtime, this is a show that's meant for kids. And us adults are sitting here watching this and judging this show from an adult point of view, where a lot of kids, they sit down and how much freaking, I literally just thought of this because my kids
don't have the
love this show. Dude, they're sitting here watching their TikToks and their freaking, YouTube reels at 15 seconds ago.
And from working at Netflix, that's huge. Yeah, that is a huge point right now. Like, stats that show, like back when I was at Netflix too, like the kids' attention spans are shrinking, and I mean Disney Plus has been losing a lot of the series shows from 6 to 14 have all been going bye. They're letting them all go because it's all about the Disney Junior shows because that's where the attention spans are.
No, that's fair because my kid just made their own Disney Plus thing. My youngest, she's 10 now. And she made like her own thing just so that she could watch her own shows and everything. And each one of those shows are like 20 minutes. So I just thought of that. Maybe that's why they kind of did it.
Well, then it baffles me then why they did it. If they thought that this would appeal to kids, I wonder maybe what the appeal was to still do it in live action. But, you know, because most of the more...
Well, because let's be real, the Goonies, dude, the Goonies. Yeah, I mean, look, dude, I know I'm like 20 years like your senior, bro, but like the Goonies were an entire generational thing, man.
Right.
And I can see that, like, as I said, and I've said this before, this is like the Goonies, but it's longer. It's drawn out a little bit.
It's funny,
but yeah.
Do your kid, because like I've been realizing that too. Like here we are, the 30-year-old, 40-year-old, 50-year-old men all talking about this, and I realized like my own kids don't like it. And my kids are huge Star Wars fans, and they're like, I'd rather watch Ewoks or watch Luke Skywalker or watch Anakin and Padme. Like,
wait, they don't like this?
They're not into this. They just walk away. Like dad's watching.
My kids are really actually into this. This has brought my kids more into Star Wars.
Really,
especially my 13-year-old.
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
Yeah, because my 13-year-old, she liked Ahsoka, but she only liked it because she says she liked it. I think it's because she was trying to impress Dad. But she actually is like, hey, Dad, what's going on in this one? Because they don't have Disney Plus at their mom's place. So she's actually asked me about this one.
And my 16-year-old, she went through, like, she watched all of Clone Wars, all of Rup, and growing up, for some reason, Episode 2 was like her favorite. But yeah, she loves Ahsoka so much that she doesn't really even like the live action Ahsoka that much. So I was like, no, we got to give that another chance. Like I've been wanting to watch that one over again with her. But I kind of realized with my younger ones, my 9-year-old and my 11-year-old, They're not into it.
But they're already
really like any of it, even this.
Yeah, they're Star Wars fans, but maybe because they're my kids and they love the older ones. I don't know.
Well, let's be real, dude. You're a dad also, right? So as a dad, especially when your kids are younger, and especially if they're little girls, because little girls love their daddy, they're going to be like, Dad likes Star Wars, I like Star Wars. Right? But as they grow into themselves, yeah.
You know, Matt, I think there might be something to that.
That's true.
I think when I was that age, I would have been way more interested in watching something with like Anakin or Luke, like a character I already know, as opposed to these random kids trying to get home.
Yeah. It's definitely.
But again, man, Goonies, bro.
Yeah,
Goonies. Have you guys seen Goonies?
People who aren't massive Star Wars fans who really know all the main characters, this might be something they enjoy more because it's not tied to this giant thing.
Well, the other thing too, Kyle, though, is like
understood.
Like adults now, like the stuff that entertained, people of the generations you listed, Matt, like isn't necessarily going to be entertaining for kids today, right? And so. I feel like in doing a show like this,
that's why
definitely like doing a show like this, it definitely has its potential downsides, I guess, with not appealing to kids that wouldn't like that particular genre, or maybe kids that don't really like watching live action because it's not stimulating enough.
What's funny though,
dude, to combat that, all I'm gonna say is Shark Boy and Lava Girl.
Dude, even that's like 20 years old now, though. Like that's like an old movie. Like
but at the time, dude, the kids went nuts for that thing, dude, and look what it was.
Yes, my kids love it. They still love it. And
dude, my kids like that stuff, dude. And that's 10 years before they were even thought
that's like arguably like that's like 90% animation though. Like that's like very stimulating. If you watch that show,
and this is 90% CGI except for the crab that was stop motion.
The only real difference to me is runtimes, because then you're comparing theatrical movies to television runtimes.
Yeah. And that's why I'm pissed about this, because of the runtimes for myself. But at the same time, again, if they're trying to target children and attention times, they hit that 20-25 minute mark, man.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, this is
right.
Sit down with the kid and watch something.
We can get theatrical quality live action shows to television.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
exactly.
For sure. I think
too.
I definitely agree with the idea that maybe it is shorter intentionally because of the age group that they're supposed to target with this.
I do wish they said
but
that.
On the other hand, I do wish they had probably said that ahead of time. And then second to that, I feel like they may have possibly failed with the intent of making it shorter for those kids to enjoy. I feel like if it's an enjoyable story, like I not the same group of kid is going to sit there and enjoy Andor, obviously, right? But if it's like at least Mandalorian, like there's tons of kids who probably love Mandalorian, right? Why not just make it the same?
Oh well, Baby Yoda brought a bunch of kids into it, so yes.
Yeah, so like, that's what I'm saying. Like what is the difference between the Mandalorian and Skeleton Crew in terms of like being able to appeal to that level of age group?
Wow, Mandalorian came out for adults.
Well,
it
I don't
come
know
out for the kids. The kids grabbed a hold of it because of Baby Yoda, though.
Like Star Wars is for kids, though.
Yeah.
Like in general,
families.
Star Wars is always for kids. Like Star Wars,
families.
families,
families.
Families. Yeah.
But who spends the most money? Us adults.
This is the problem Disney
that are
has.
freaking addicted to this shit and willing to drop, $200 on a goddamn Dark Falcon Lego set just because it looks like a Millennium Falcon. Like, dude, we're the ones that are paying the money.
We're the ones that keep making sure there's more Star Wars.
Yeah. That's the problem, though,
think
Kyle.
of McDonald's. Think of McDonald's, man. McDonald's did it right. McDonald's back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, they targeted the kids. Now as 70s, 80s, 90s people, now we're growing up. And what do we freaking eat 90% of the time? Dude, if there's an A&W, a McDonald's, and a Wendy's beside each other, you're still going to the freaking McDonald's, dude. And it's because they got you as a kid, and now they appeal to you as an adult, but they still got their Happy Meals, so you bring your kid in.
It's funny. I think this is more targeted towards parents. It's funny because Disney Plus has all the Disney teenage shows and kid shows. My kids watch all that other garbage, and they know how to make those kid shows, like for those kids and those teenagers. And this doesn't seem like it's that.
Yeah.
To me, it is, because you got to remember, like my 13-year-old, she asks about this. That blows me away.
Wow.
So for me, they're doing something that's targeting a freaking kid that really doesn't. She liked it when she was younger, and of course dad did it and everything, blah blah blah. But she actually, all she loves is her anime. But still, they're doing something that's targeting at least that age range, because even a couple of her friends are watching this show.
Yeah.
So I don't know what they're doing, but yeah,
I am curious
Cool.
though. Well, I think when this is all over, I'm definitely curious to like try and obtain information from polls and like various things, like which age groups of people did tune into this show, like ultimately while it was coming out.
And I'm very curious now, after talking to you guys, what percentage of non-Star Wars fans watch it and like it versus who people are already big fans.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it seems like that might actually be a pretty big split.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Right. Well, I think that wraps up our Skeleton Crew chat, but we do have a fun Ewok story. So I don't know if you guys knew, but I have a book here called Year by Year, a Visual Dictionary. It's a DK book, which is basically like yeah, I don't
That's what I thought.
Not Donkey Kong, Drift King. Yeah. So DK does a lot of like the Star Wars visual dictionaries. They do a lot of the visual, they have for many years. And inside, this thing is amazing. It's like a visual history ever since like inspirations from George Lucas's like childhood days all the way up to today, and most of it is filled with like a month by month on like what came out from Lucasfilm, what came out from Star Wars, whether it was like a comic book or like something happened. And then there's also like world events in there to kind of give you a sense of time as to when things came out at around what points in time. Crazy stuff. Really cool. Anyways, at one point in the book, I looks like I cropped out the year, unfortunately, but on a year far in the past, on a January 18th, this is probably after Return of the Jedi came out, the Los Angeles Times reported on Dean Preston, a Calgary writer, who had accused Lucas of stealing the name Ewok, and the concept for the Ewoks. Lucas responded that he created the Ewoks in the original 1974 draft of the Star Wars and came up with the name by reversing the syllables of the character he called the Wookiee and rhyming it with the Northern California Indian tribe known as the Miwok, pronounced Miwok. On November 9th, Justice Andrew McKay dismissed Preston's claims and ordered him to pay Lucas's court costs. So I thought that was kind of a funny little story that somebody tried to sue George Lucas over the name Ewok, and then he had to pay all of George's court costs as well.
I'm impressed that it got that far.
It was a Canadian. That's what's blowing me away.
Too. Calgary.
That sounds like something an American would come up with. You know what I mean? Like just sitting at home going, wait, I remember 20 years ago, I was at a bar with a guy that looked like him.
Yeah. Crazy, right? Anyway, I thought it was just a funny little story, but...
George Lucas is traveling across Alberta, stealing ideas.
Yeah.
Exactly, right?
His own caravan of courage.
Yeah. All right. So we do have, seeing as that it is a new year, we do have a few recent episodes of note for anyone to potentially check out. More recently, we have scheduled a recording with the guys who did Bucketheads Part 3, the whole series actually, but definitely tune in to that in the coming weeks. I think it should be releasing January 27th. The Star Wars episode, it was Skeleton Crew episode 5 Aftershow, but we played a round of Ultimate Trivia in there. We kind of celebrated the year end. Great episode as well. Also, special guest, the last one that we had on was Mark Anthony Austin back in December on the 2nd. He is the guy who played Special Edition Boba Fett, specifically A New Hope Special Edition Boba Fett. It was myself, Matt, and we also had a lovely guest from the Boba Fett fan club. Her name was Chelsea. So she joined as well, and we chatted with Mark about his time working at ILM and playing Boba Fett in the new scenes that they inserted into the film, all that stuff. Really great chat. And
Treasure Planet.
And Treasure Planet.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah, he was an animator on Treasure Planet. And
Casper too,
yeah, all the more reason. What are you doing scrolling Instagram? Just watch this movie. It was cool. And as always, you can find a whole list of our previous episodes on the podcast in the podcast archives, podcast tracker tab. I always link it in the description of every single show that we do, so it's easy enough to find. And I will link the new spreadsheet that I made for the Star Wars True Runtime Tracker. And I'm going to keep up with that one just so it doesn't, take me like another age and a half to do. So I'm going to link that down in the description below as well. In the meantime, is there any final thoughts from any of you guys before we wrap things up here?
Yeah, if you map the Goonies kids upon the Skeleton Crew kids, which one is which? Like, who's Chunk?
Dang.
Dude, Neil.
Yeah, it'd always be Neil. Yeah.
It's Neil, right?
Okay, which one's...
The thing is we're also in a progressive new age, so Neil's treated a lot better than Trunk was treated.
Yeah,
True enough.
Better.
There's no truffle shuffle,
I'll say the
man.
Neil shuffle. Yeah.
The one thing this show is missing is Josh Brolin.
The Neil shuffle.
The one thing this show is missing is Josh Brolin. I feel like in order to really tie it into the Goonies vibe, they need Josh Brolin. It's got to happen.
That's fair. They needed an older brother that wasn't Jod. Well, you know what? It's Jod, but he's okay. Can I say this? He's an asshole, But I think Jod would kind of take that part. I think that's what's going to happen. I think that's what's going to happen. The kids, dude, in the very end, come on now, it's Disney. The kids are going to rub off on them.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
That was always my hope, but yeah, I don't know. After this episode.
Please happen.
All right, Matt, Dan, and Kyle, thank you so much for joining us this week. We don't have Kirk to sign us out here, so Blake.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun.
And thank you as well for joining us as always.
Sing bye to everybody.
I think we're just signing off now. So,
all right, we'll see you out there. Keep flying.
Out there.
All right.
With you. Peace.
Thanks you guys for tuning in, and big thank you to our audience as always. And thank you to all those who have joined us for the journey in Discord. And just a reminder for pinging us if you want that role to stick around. Lots of great things coming in 2025. Follow us the handles using the @SW Escape Podcast. You can find us on Blue Sky and X. And our email, swescapepodcast@gmail.com. We would love to hear what you guys thought of Skeleton Crew. And we never get anyone sharing any thoughts anymore. So, I encourage you to shoot us an email or a voicemail. We might even play it on the show, all that stuff. Fan Expo coming up in Vancouver in February. Hayden Christensen's going to be there. Kyle's going to be there. So many cool stuff. And read The Living Force. We're doing a book review. May the Force be with you.